Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're looking at a deeply tragic custody dispute that escalated into something completely unprecedented, a historic federal crime. We are going to unpack an unbelievable sequence of events here. We're talking massive international manhunts, blended with relentless, devastating digital warfare. It's a gripping story that really forces us to ask how a seemingly standard family conflict can spiral so far out of control that it literally shatters a community and makes legal history.
Picture this. We're starting our narrative right at the terrifying climax. It's February 11th, 2013, a little after 8 o'clock in the morning, and utter chaos erupts in the lobby of a Wilmington courthouse. A gunman just opens fire. Tragically, he leaves Christine Belford and her friend Beth Mulford dead, and wounds 2 security guards right before taking his own life. In a matter of seconds, the entire building goes into full lockdown.
Now, when Detective Jeff Schreiner arrives at this incredibly chaotic scene and spots Christine on the ground, he makes an immediate assumption. He thinks he knows exactly who the shooter is right away. He assumes her ex-husband, David Matasiewicz, pulled the trigger. But as the investigation quickly reveals, the detective was completely wrong. David was in the building for sure, but he actually wasn't the one holding the gun.
So you have to wonder, how in the world does a missing persons case from 2007 escalate into a deadly courthouse ambush? To really understand this devastating climax, we literally have to rewind 6 whole years. Because as you'll see, this was not just some random, spontaneous act of violence. It was the culmination of one of the most methodical, highly organized conspiracies ever documented by federal investigators. Let's loop back to the moment the nightmare truly began.
In late August 2007, Christine let her ex-husband David take their 3 young daughters, Laura, Lee, and Karen, on what he promised was going to be this magical, fun-filled trip to Disney World in Florida. Well, it was a complete betrayal. Instead of heading to Orlando, David, alongside his mother Lenore, packed the girls into a Winnebago, drove straight down to Hidalgo, Texas, and just vanished across the Mexican border. The chilling truth? He'd actually started planning this a full year prior, even securing fake IDs for the whole family. And this wasn't just some localized search. It became a massive, international 18-month manhunt crossing multiple borders. It's like something out of a movie. The U.S. Marshals tracked them all the way to a hideout in Panama, but the family managed to vanish just before the raid could even happen. Then came a sudden passport hit in Costa Rica. Finally, in March 2009, a completely routine traffic stop in Catarina, Nicaragua, ended the run. David was pulled over by local police while he was literally trying to sell his daughter's belongings out of the trunk of his car.
It takes a staggering amount of money to fund an 18-month international kidnapping. A cool $1 million, to be exact. David completely blew through that fortune just to stay off the grid. To get that massive pile of cash, he sold off his entire optometry business, and this is just horrific. He utilized a fraudulent $250,000 line of credit that he'd secretly taken out by forging Christine's own signature.
This part is just heartbreaking. When Christine immediately flew down to Nicaragua and was finally reunited with her girls, she discovered the sheer psychological warfare David had inflicted on them. Laura, who was only 6 when she was abducted, revealed that David told the kids Christine had actually ended her own life. As authorities noted, this was a calculated, deeply cruel move to strip those children of all hope, making them believe absolutely no one was coming to rescue them. So, after the capture, David and his mother Lenore are brought back to the U.S. and sent to prison. David gets 4 years, Lenore gets 18 months. You would think, okay, the nightmare is finally over, right? Not even close. Even from a prison cell, David realized he could still launch attacks against Christine. He triggered what authorities would later call the absolute worst case of cyberstalking the state of Delaware had ever seen.
And this wasn't just some angry internet comments or a simple smear campaign. This was a highly organized digital assault using fake accounts and unsuspecting allies. David would literally mail handwritten directives from his prison cell to his sister, Amy Gonzalez. Meanwhile, a woman named Cindy Bender, who was secretly maintaining a virtual relationship with David, befriended Christine on Facebook to act as a mole. She took private, restricted info about the girls and fed it directly back to the Matasiewicz family.
The Matasiewicz family was aiming for total control, basically trying to anonymously destroy Christine's reputation right within her own community. They built this massive 29-paragraph webpage called A Grandmother's Impossible Choice, and it was filled from top to bottom with entirely fabricated allegations of horrific child abuse. Amy anonymously mailed printouts of this website to Christine's neighbors, her kids' schools, and her church. The harassment got so bad, it forced Christine to step down as a Sunday school teacher just to protect her students from the fallout.
Then, the stalking actually escalated from the digital world to physical surveillance. The family stalked Christine from a parked car, covertly filming her interacting with her kids. They caught this brief, totally normal moment where Christine pulled her child by the arm to keep her from wandering into a busy street. Just a basic protective parenting reflex. But they repackaged that footage on YouTube with the manipulative title, "Don't Hurt Me, Mommy," purposefully editing it to frame her as a violent abuser. Here's the absolutely crucial takeaway. The digital terror was merely the precursor. By the time David was released from federal prison in April 2012, Christine knew they were coming for her. She was absolutely terrified for her life. She installed heavy security cameras, adopted 3 German shepherds, kept bats and knives by her bed, and think about how scary this is. She even trained her eldest daughter, Katie, on how to rapidly deploy a rope ladder from a second-story window in case of a home invasion.
The whole conspiracy was chillingly methodical. They used the info gathered from their Facebook mole to track Christine's every move. Then, on the morning of what should have been a simple child support hearing, the plan culminated. David's father, Thomas Matasuias, was the one who walked into that Wilmington courthouse and executed the fatal ambush against Christine and her friend, before turning the gun on himself, all while David waited safely inside the building.
Now get this. Astonishingly, just 10 days after the brutal shooting, Lenore Matasuias actually went on a public podcast to defend her dead husband. She bizarrely claimed he was just in town planning a Reuben sandwich party. Seriously? But what's truly shocking is that she used this platform to reiterate those vile, fabricated abuse allegations against Christine, shamelessly attacking a murdered woman who could no longer defend herself. This brings us to the historic June 2015 trial. The surviving members of the Matasuias family, David, Lenore, and Amy, were all indicted. And this marked the very first time in United States history that this specific, highly severe federal charge, cyberstalking resulting in death, was successfully prosecuted. The prosecution set out to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this was a coordinated, lethal conspiracy. The jury was presented with an undeniable mountain of physical evidence. The FBI collected over 600 items from the family's Texas home and from Thomas's vehicle. We're talking a red notebook acting as a literal hit list, which, by the way, included Christine's lawyer. They found hidden arsenals of weapons, thousands of rounds of ammunition, surveillance photos with Christine's security cameras meticulously circled, and those secret email chains. It proved undeniably that David, Lenore, and Amy were fully prepared and organized to commit an act of mass violence.
Out of all the thousands of pieces of evidence collected, there was one deeply disturbing printout that really sends shivers down your spine. It was a darkly altered version of the Serenity Prayer. Finding this hanging prominently in the home of the people who orchestrated this relentless, multi-year campaign showed the jury exactly the kind of unhinged, violent mindset the Matasuias family was operating under.
13. That was the age of Laura, Christine's daughter, when she bravely took the stand to face the very family that had abducted her and terrorized her mother. For her own physical safety and emotional well-being, she testified behind closed doors. You see, the entire defense strategy rested on the fabricated lie that Christine was somehow abusive, and that was a story that only Laura could definitively rebut. With those 5 simple words, none of it is true, a 13-year-old girl completely dismantled the Matasuias family's years of intricate lies. She told the court, plainly and firmly, that she was never abused. The defense completely crumbled right there in front of the jury. Because of Laura's immense bravery, she restored her mother's legacy and secured life sentences without the possibility of parole for David, Lenore, and Amy. Ultimately, this story highlights not just the profound darkness and complexity of this crime, but the incredible courage of Christine and her children. Her eldest daughter, Katie, noted that her mother fought continuously to give them the safe, loving lives they deserved. Christine never, ever gave up. She fought back against the digital and physical terror until the very end, and her resilience firmly lives on in her daughters today. So, what does this all mean for us? It leaves us with a pretty chilling thought to take away. We've seen exactly how digital harassment, fake websites, and manipulated videos formed the literal blueprint for a physical murder. As our digital and physical lives continue to merge entirely, how safe are any of us from the digital footprints we leave behind?
And the real question is our society truly equipped to stop a campaign of digital terror before it's too late?